Why do men burn fat faster, burn calories faster, get lean quicker than women? It's one of those very controversial, annoying questions, particularly if you're a woman. And as an exercise professional, as a personal results coach, somebody who's managed health clubs all over the world, and my whole life has been dedicated to helping people to be healthy, fit, strong and lean, it's been very interesting to watch. A man and a woman will start an exercise program, husband and wife, partners, girlfriend, boyfriend. They start at exactly the same time. They exercise for exactly the same amount of time. But it's very obvious that within days, weeks, or even sometimes less than that, men get lean very quickly and women take a really long time. So why is that? And obviously there's genetics involved, there's the differences in genders, there's hormones. But one of the questions that I always asked as an exercise professional is, how can I be more like a man then, so I burn calories faster, burn fat faster, burn food faster, get lean quicker and stay lean for the rest of my life? And it's been a really interesting study because I'm a woman. I've been studying men and women, and there's obviously some psychological effects of eating and exercise, and there's physiological effects of eating and exercise. And is it possible that our psychological, the way a woman's brain thinks, has a lot to do with the way we get into shape, stay in shape, the way we live our lives? And again, very controversial, but I am a woman, so I can ask this question. Is it possible that the hormonal system, the endocrine system, which is designed for us to stay alive, to thrive, to be happy and excited about life, so we can then reproduce, that's technically the role of a woman. Men obviously enjoy the reproduction process, and the headspace involved in all of that, which is to stay alive, thrive and reproduce, obviously is different in men and women. But how do we look at it? So as a woman, if I look at my pregnancy, my period, my menopause, if I've put on weight and I have to lose weight, if I look at it from a negative perspective, if I look at it from an emotional perspective, and then if I add in there guilt and stress and anxiety, I have to lose weight, I feel guilty that I've eaten food, I'm angry because I'm fat, is it possible that all of those things have an effect on our body? Because obviously if your body's under stress, and if you feel guilty, then your headspace is a little bit different than if I'm just going to lose weight and get into great shape and live my life. So I'll give you an example. My husband often, when I talk about often, 3-4 times a year, has to make weight because he's a martial arts competitor. He competes on the world stage, and he always competes at a weight that's a little bit lighter than what he normally carries because he's fast and he wants to compete with people that are fast. So if he has to make weight, and sometimes he has had to lose up to 12 kilos, because there was a really interesting time when he thought he had to lose 5 kilos to make weight, and then they gave him a different category to fight in because there wasn't enough competitors, because he's a, as they call, a mature fighter. So he fights with people usually over 50, but now he had to fight with people over 35. I'm sharing that with you because he had to lose, I think, 12 kilos in a very short period of time. Now, there's no emotion attached to that. He just treats it like a mathematical equation. I need to eat this many calories, I need to drink this much water, I need to do this much exercise so that I weigh this much. And every time I've seen him, and it's been multiple times now because he competes every year several times, he stands on the scale on making weight day exactly the weight that he needs to be. So whether it's 69 kilos or 75 kilos or 80 kilos, it doesn't matter. He is exactly the weight that he needs to be because he treats it as a mathematical equation. Logic, common sense, big picture, what do I need to do to get the result that I want? The difference in a woman's headspace or in women's headspace is, I've often heard this, because remember I've been doing this all of my life. I need to lose my weight loss journey. I wish that I didn't have to lose weight. I'm grumpy that I need to lose weight. I wish that I could have a great body without having to get into a fanatical exercise program or having to diet. And it seems to be a negative process. So when I use my husband and elite athletes, because I've worked with a lot of elite athletes, it's a positive process. If I've got to get into a certain shape, be a certain weight, have a certain athletic performance at a certain time, it's a positive experience. It seems that when a woman needs to lose weight or get into shape or she's got to exercise, it's a negative. I've got to go to the gym, I've got to exercise, I haven't got time. And it becomes a negative process. And is it possible that if you've got a negative headspace, it's much harder to do something? Now, if you add to that the very significant physiological differences between men and women, and the biggest one is obviously muscle. Men have more muscle or they maintain muscle for longer because they do things to maintain their muscle. So we all build up a certain amount of muscle until 20, 25, depending on your gender and depending on your genetics and your lifestyle. So we are given a certain amount of muscle. Men have testosterone, human growth hormone, obviously different chemicals in their body, so they can grow more muscle. Women, we just can't. Even if you have a large amount of testosterone in your body, it's very difficult to put on 5, 10, 15 kilos of muscle. We just can't. You're lucky if you can put on a couple of kilos extra of muscle. But if you could do that, and I always share this as a joke, I suppose, God is obviously a man, because men have the capability of putting on muscle size and putting it on quite quickly, and then they have a bigger engine. And a bigger engine requires more fuel, obviously. If you've got a V8 engine, you burn more petrol than if you've got a 4-cylinder engine. Now, men are technically born with V8 engines because they have more muscle. They're less likely to use it because they do more stuff that holds on to their muscle. They're not scared of lifting heavy things. They're not scared of overloading their muscles and bones, and they tend to do more sports that overload muscle. Women seem to be really scared of having muscle, so we don't do, and this is my new favourite quote, most women will use light weights for toning, and I call them namby-pamby little weights that do nothing. Because if you don't overload your muscles, you can't keep them, and that's the difference between men and women. We can't grow more muscle, but we can certainly keep what we've got. And most women are already losing their muscle by the time they're 20 or 25 because they don't do anything to maintain their muscle. So you waste away very quickly, and I use that as an example often. If you have to, God forbid, have a broken limb of arm, leg, get wrapped up in plaster. When you take that plaster off, the bone might be healed, but you've lost all your muscle in that area. It happens very, very quickly. If you're in bed for a week and you then go to stand up, you are really weak. After 1 week of doing nothing, your body becomes weak and frail. And as women, we tend to allow that to happen. So our metabolic rate, which is the engine of our body, which is our muscle, becomes slower very quickly. So then if you've got a small engine and you put fuel into it, unlike a car when you can only fill it up to a certain spot, as a woman or as humans, we can just keep eating. And it's interesting, if you go back to the differences in headspace between men and women, the psychology, men seem to eat for logical reasons. I'm hungry, so I eat. Women, we eat because we're angry or we're frustrated or we're annoyed or we're upset or we're emotional. Not logical reasons for eating, which means we eat and eat and eat and eat even if we're not hungry. Of course, if you're healthy, fit and strong, that doesn't happen, because if your hormones are under control, if you've got a healthy, fit, strong body and your endocrine system is working well, you can't eat too much because your body won't let you. So that's the ultimate. So I'm all about solutions. Why do men burn fat faster, calories faster, food faster than women? Why do men lose weight quicker if they need to, if they're chubby, if they've got flabby bits, why do they lose them quicker? It's all about the muscle and it's all about the hormones. So if I'm a woman, I want to keep my muscle, so I need to do something that's going to overload my muscles and bones, ligaments, tendons and joints, so I keep my muscle. If I've got muscle, then I'm going to have a fast base metabolic rate, which is how many calories I need to survive over 24 hours. Men tend to have a higher base metabolic rate, which is why they can eat more food, or if they eat less food, they burn calories faster. But if I've got more muscle, or if I maintain the muscle that I've been given without losing it because I'm inactive, and if I keep overloading my muscle, and if I'm so privileged I can put on a couple of kilos, so I've got a bigger engine, a faster metabolism, I require more calories to survive, base metabolic rate. Then because I've got a bigger engine, when I do stuff, I burn more calories. It just makes sense, doesn't it? If I go out and drive my 8-cylinder car versus my 6-cylinder car versus my 4-cylinder car, I'm going to burn more fuel from driving just because I've got a bigger engine. So every time I go out to exercise, every time I do anything, whether it's wash the car, clean the windows, hang the washing on the line, I'm just thinking of all the things I've done today, I'm going to burn calories faster because I've got more muscle, or I've maintained the muscle that I've been given as a woman. And then the respiratory quotient, RQ, respiratory quotient, depending on how you pronounce it, that's where the calories are coming from. Now, if you're really fit and if you're really strong, so you're going to be strong if you're maintaining your muscles, you change your respiratory quotient so that when you're resting, your body burns more fat. And that's a beautiful thing, because men tend to go into the gym, lift really heavy, overload at a high intensity at a bigger effort. So when they're resting, their respiratory quotient says, well, he's going into the gym, we have to have a large amount of carbohydrate available so that he can lift heavy, because that is the fuel source for lifting heavy. So when he's resting, we better make sure that he's burning fat or a larger amount of fat rather than carbohydrate, so that when he needs the carbohydrate, it's available. Now, if I wrap that up again into a very simple picture, fit, strong, healthy people burn carbohydrate when they're exercising at high intensity, lifting heavy, getting puffed, and when they're resting, they burn a higher percentage of fat, which means they're leaner. So having understood all of that as a woman, I just said, well, that's easy. I'm going to maintain my muscle. I'm going to lift heavy. I've been lifting heavy all of my life, and I wish that I had big muscles. I just don't. And as an old lady like me now, all I'm aiming to do now is maintain my muscle. I don't want to lose the size of my engine. I want to be able to continue to eat yummy food at the amounts that I love to eat. And again, I'll rephrase that. When you've got a strong body and a fit body, your endocrine system, your hormones are fit and strong too, which means you can't overeat, because when you're full, your hormones say, don't eat anymore. We're full. We don't need any more food. So it's a very simple process. And this is, after all I've just said, this is how simple it is. Get puffed to be fit. Overload your muscles and bones to be strong, and everything else will work itself out, whether you're a man or a woman. Now, the beautiful thing with the whole emotional, hormonal, everything that goes on in our headspace, that is controlled by hormones too. So if you're healthy, fit and strong, you'll have more control of your emotions. You'll go through menopause really easily. Pregnancies and periods will be easier. Everything will be more in your control rather than the other way around. And I'm sure you've heard women say that. My hormones are in control of my life. Well, I refuse to have anything in control of my life except me, which is why being healthy, fit and strong is such a beautiful process. Get puffed to be fit, lift heavy to be strong, and then whether you're a man or a woman, you'll be in control of your endocrine system, your hormones, you'll have a strong, fit heart and lungs, you'll have a strong immune system, so you're less likely to get sick, disease, viruses, horrible things that happen to people that are sick, weak and frail. You're less likely, or if almost impossible, to be depressed or anxious, because that's the hormonal system again. The central nervous system is healthy, fit and strong, so that all works beautifully, which means that you can live your life every single day to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. What do you reckon, little judo? Living to the max, darling. Woohoo!